Welcome to the Outstanding Women Leaders Podcast, or OWLS.
We give a hoot.
I'm your host, Kristen Aguirre, a former journalist turned young stroke survivor, now hustling to make my dream of becoming a national speaker come true. Now, I'm currently jobless, but not loveless. I come from a very tight-knit Mexican family. It's the most important thing in my life and my motivation every morning to wake up and work. I want to buy us all a big house, but not living together. We need some space. I'm accompanied by my resilient and quirky co-host, Katie Eads, who, like a cat, has 9 lives when it comes to careers and relationships. Girl, really quick, introduce yourself.
Thanks, Kristen. As she mentioned, I am your quirky and hilarious, she always forgets that part, co-host and founder of Owl Professional Coaching. And like a cat, I've landed on my feet a few times. I'm a divorce thriver, toxic relationship survivor, and the queen of transitioning careers. How do you move from high school history teacher to CrossFit gym owner to nonprofit CEO and fundraiser, and now full-time professional coach, you ask? Add a touch of bold here and a dash of brave there, and just a pinch of losing your mind, and boom, a transitionista is born. After proclaiming 2020 my year, I launched the Outstanding Women Leaders podcast with my girl, Kristen. Our vision is to connect with outstanding women leaders around the world, share their story, and inspire you to be an owl in your own community. Today, we'd like to empower you to share your superpowers and be your bold, brave, unique self. But enough about us. If you're ready to laugh, feel the presence of faith in your life, and hear the few F-bombs, then let's get started. Well, before we do that, today, you might have noticed that Kristen's intro is a little different. We are no longer with Vasita. I can't even. I'm going to cry.
Oh, yeah.
I can't. I'm going to let you. Vaca, Kristen's beloved dog, is no longer with us. He is in heaven looking over us today.
We had to put her down last week, so please, no matter what, you never buy from a puppy mill. She was being bred at a puppy mill most of her life, and just they didn't really care about her health. So she had underlying kidney disease that we didn't even find out about until last Thursday, and it was too aggressive to treat. We did everything, like, see you later savings. They're like, she's gonna need to stay a couple days in the ER. I'm like, whatever you want, just take it. I don't have any money. I got some eggs and burgers in the fridge. I'll be fine till my parents get here. And so we gave her a blood transfusion. We really gave her a shot, so many prayers, but her little body just couldn't take it. So we ended up putting her down because we were getting her right before the point where she was going to be uncomfortable. And so the right thing to do was to put her down. So they let me sit with her while we did it. And it was honestly the worst day of my life. And that includes my stroke. Like, if I never have to go through that again, like, that would be too soon. It was horrible. So for those of you guys who haven't been listening, Becca, I adopted her in February, and she was, though towards the end of my recovery a little bit, she was such an important part on days where, like, my recovery and just mental health wasn't there. She really gave me a reason to get out of bed and, like, forced me to, like, get up and walk and get outside. And she truly was just like a little miracle to me and was like my child. So saying goodbye to her was horrible, but she will always be with me, and I know she's looking down with me. She's in heaven with my sister and the rest of our family, just running around, living her best life, kidney free. I will miss her very much. But if anybody knows the death of a dog, it's just horrendous. It was awful to, like, sit there with them while their heart stops beating. I was not prepared. I also hadn't cried for an entire year after my stroke, but saying goodbye to her, it was like every tear that was just like waiting to come out. It was horrible. Kind of necessary, but yeah, I just miss her so much. So if you guys have any advice, please email us about not getting over, but coping, I guess, with the death of one of the ladies offered to get me another dog, but I really need to just sit in this shit and feel this before I can move on. So no dog just yet.
Thank you for sharing that, Kristen. Today's guest, would you want to introduce her?
Yes, today's guest is Jane Connely, aka Heal the Brain with Jane, if you know her on social media. She's an occupational therapist and a neurospecialist in California. Now, Jane graduated from the University of Southern California with her MA in occupational therapy, but it was her experience working with persons post-brain injury that really pushed her to continue her training to become a developmentally trained, and she's also an amazing mother of 2 little boys. Hey, Jane.
Hi, thank you so much for having me on. This is awesome.
We're so excited to have you.
I'm currently hiding from my boys in my room. I started in the office and you guys saw me like just creep over into my room because nap time is happening. So we'll see what happens. I don't know. You
They're
might hear
so
something.
cute, though.
Oh, they honestly are precious. I'm very, very biased, but
No, they're very
like,
cute.
they're super cute and super spicy. I don't know
They're
where they
really
get it from.
funny
It's
when
so
you post them
annoying.
on social media.
Yeah, they're something.
Jean, you were a huge part of the stroke community. You were one of the first people that I actually saw on social media that was like empowering young stroke survivors and brain injury survivors. How did you get into this?
Well, so it's kind of I just felt like, so I was working at a hospital, an outpatient clinic, but it was associated with the hospital. So it would be people would get into the hospital and I would sometimes see them like right away, just depending on, my schedule. And then they would go to their outpatient for 6 weeks or where they would live at the hospital. Then they would come see me. And what I found was that I was working with people for long periods of time and that the hospital was really pushing me to get them out. So it's like see them for 6 weeks and then have them leave. And what I found too is that like there were so many other things happening in these people's lives that like the idea that I was like, okay, now we're going to work on your arm was like so unrealistic. Like we just didn't have any like follow-up care. Like you can't remember this exercise. You can't remember like that you need to talk with your husband or wife about this. So I got really passionate about like, okay, how do I make this more accessible and easy? And then I went on Instagram, and Instagram was like amazing because right away I found Joe from Neuro Nerds, and he just like reached out, and then I got all these people just like texting me and emailing me and stuff, and I was like, whoa, yeah, like this is a simple thing for me to say, like, yeah, you're right where on track, you're right where you're supposed to be. And then that really led me to leaving my job because I was not happy there, and starting a nonprofit and starting a private practice. And it's been crazy because it's been so fulfilling and so I don't know, so like life-giving, but very scary and uncomfortable too, because I think I don't see the I see that we have so many like awesome OTs, PTs, speech, neurologists, physiatrists. We have like all these amazing medical practitioners who want to help, but we're so limited by like the structure that we're in.
Sure.
And so finding a way where like people can really be heard and that we can actually really go to what's going on in in their lives. And I think the other thing that we talked about before, Kristen, is that like there's so much focus on preventing stroke and what happens in the hospital, and that's great, and we need that needs to continue. But what about after stroke? And what about going back to life? I mean, I really feel like we just drop people off and we're like, here are your handouts of exercises, see ya. And it's like so inadequate for stroke and for brain injury and for a lot of disabilities. Like, and it's just like, go home and figure it out. So I'm really against that. And that's kind of where my passion kind of comes from, because it's so cool to see people thriving and to be a part of their journey in a different way. And to kind of take like the clinical hat off sometimes and just be like human to human. Like, I get that you're having body image problems. Like, that's pretty normal for humans, right? You know what I mean? Like, and let's talk about that like on a human level rather than able-bodied to disabled body, right? Like, why is there that difference? So anyway, long-winded me.
No, I love it. My occupational therapist, though, for me, I was telling you a little bit, one of the biggest challenges for me was trying to be able to put my hair in a ponytail. And this is still not even like the way I used to do it, but I mean, I can do it myself. So I'm like, whatever, I'll rock this. But my occupational therapist knew that was so important to me. And it was before my hand was like really coming around. So there was like a lot of tone. So it was like difficult to kind of extend it.
Yeah.
And, she made this like ponytail for me where I could like pull it down with a
Yeah.
and I mean, it didn't work perfectly, but I just felt so connected to her afterwards because I felt
Mhm.
like she was looking at me like a human and not like an occupational therapist. She was like, all right, what are we going to do to like get Kristen a little bit more secure inside? She's like, you want to put your hair in a ponytail? Cool. I found this contraption. I made it. And yes, my therapist. So I was like, have you heard of Craig?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was able to be at Craig and they kind of have
Awesome.
like, yeah, they kind of have that whole thing where they don't just drop you off. So like I had a therapist that actually helped me integrate into work. And then when I got fired,
Awesome.
yeah, and then when I got fired, she was also there. And I mean, not there, but was like, okay, what are we going to do next? What do we want to do? Like helping, like even after.
Mm.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
I think they're one of the few hospitals because I've gotten so many people that reached out to me
Mm-hmm.
after my stroke that were just kind of the same thing, like what exercises do you do? I don't have any contact with my therapist anymore. I
Mm-hmm.
just feel like that's so awful.
It's really awful. And you know, you develop such like a close relationship, and it's really,
Sure.
and then it's like no contact, nothing. And that's really tough. And it's not really the therapist, it's like it's just like the system. Like I'm sure the
Mm-hmm.
therapist wants to, I know I wanted to know people more, and I was kind of like looked down upon a little bit because I would like text people a lot.
Mm.
And now in my private practice, I'm like, forget it. Like I text everyone, and I don't think it's weird. And but I would be like, hey, like, how are your exercises going? Or how's this day for you? Or you didn't show up to therapy, like everything okay?
Oh, I love
But
that.
that's really not like, it's not, well, just in the culture I was in, it wasn't like, it was looked down upon.
Mm-hmm.
So
That
I
is
don't know.
so crazy to me coming from a service of a CrossFit gym where I would check in because you're a valuable
Yeah.
member to me. But even as a business model of patient first, of putting that person first, it's amazing to me to hear that it really is about the numbers in hospitals, unfortunately. I'm
Well, and some of that too is so that there isn't like inappropriate things happening,
Sure.
because some of it is to protect the client or the patient, and to protect their private information. So, like if I was texting someone, I even now I always have initials in my phone. You don't know who they are. And then like, it's always like, please don't send me PHI or private health information, like, so some of it I get, but then it's like this system that is supposed to be helpful, but then sometimes it's a little dehumanizing. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a balance.
I have a whole blog on systems and structures and how they get me down. This is part of it.
Oh
I am
my God.
I am so curious about the mental aspect that you talked about. What have you seen your practice developing into that is different from standard occupational therapy?
Well, just a shout out to all the OTs. We are really trained in a lot more psychology, and especially with my contemporaries, the OTs that I work with and stuff. Um, I think we're all pretty quick to be like, hey, do you have a mental health provider that you're working with too?
Mm-hmm.
And like, I I would say that probably like 80% of the people coming out that were seeing me, at least in the small town that I live in, none of them were getting therapy, like mental health therapy. And so that was always a conversation for me. And talking openly about post-stroke depression and TBI depression, because it's
It's
a
real.
chemical thing. And they say 80% of people post stroke have depression, and then 50% of caregivers do as well. And they get really neglected because it's like, okay, you get an order right away for your PT, for your OT, and for your speech. And it's like you're so busy, and especially if you've had a big insult, right? And then that piece, that emotional spirit piece just gets like totally put to the side. And I think it really should be number one, and then everything else should be second. Um, And
Well,
I
because
don't
it's
know,
like
my
once
husband's
you
a
have that spirit built up, it's easier to go kick ass at physical therapy and OT.
yeah,
But if you
yeah,
feel like shit about yourself and your life and you feel hopeless, let me tell you, OT and PT were the last things I wanted to do. Even though I knew they could help me, but like it was just too much. But when I was an inpatient, they gave me a psychologist. Oh my God, BB, and I love her. We still email. And then when I got out, they were like, "What do you need?" I'm like, "I need a therapist, stat." Like,
yeah,
but
yeah,
mental health is also really important to me, but it's not important to everyone else or a lot of
yeah.
people.
And I think too, like I think that there's an element too of younger brain injury survivors who have more resilience built in because they're more open to mental health. Um,
Yes.
like when I try to talk to somebody in their 70s, even 50s above, about like, hey, like you might have, this might be something we look
Right.
at. There's a lot of pushback. There's a lot of like just total like, no, I'm not gonna.
I can relate to that as an elder millennial at 37. When I first moved here, very good friend I met right away was a school counselor and had a private practice. And she said, "Have you ever considered therapy?" And for me, there's this great meme. It has like, you'll feel less anxious, you'll feel better, you'll have more energy, you won't feel depressed, but something's wrong with you. And all I could focus on was something is wrong with me and mentally, and I can't fix it myself, and so I need help. I didn't grow up feeling like that was something that could serve me. And what I found is that in order to thrive and get past just surviving, that therapy and that work was so crucial. I absolutely think I would still be surviving my divorce and everything that happened if I had not taken the time to see a therapist.
Absolutely. I'm a big fan of therapy. Like, I think it really, if I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing today, if I wasn't always really trying to figure out how to be my best self and not let, live life on life's terms. Um, and it's really important that if you're going to be helping people, if you're going to be trying to, I don't even like saying coach or therapist or whatever, because I really feel like it's just a relationship and we're equals and we're learning from each other. And but to do that, to be my best self, I really need to take care of myself, and mental health
Right.
is the number one way that you do that, and then everything else I think falls into place after that.
What are some of the things that you do to help take care of your own mental health?
Well, I'm a big believer in Epsom salt baths. I love them. That is like my special time. That's like my traditional self-care. I journal every day and try to pray, but I'm a horrible prayer. I just
Me too. What part is horrible for you?
just just asking for help and believing that there's a higher power and universe. I mean, I'm being really honest with you. Although I am spiritual and religious, I just go through periods where that's really hard. And then I like to walk, and I like to listen to Brene Brown's podcast, Unlocking,
Yes.
I think it's called Unlocking Us. And I just recently read a really good book by Glennon Doyle, Untamed. It's amazing. I recommend it. So yeah, I read, write, and honestly, doing my work is like very life-giving. So it just kind of depends. Like sometimes working one-on-one doing therapy can be a little bit like I really have to watch myself, and those days I have to like drink a lot of water, like eat well, walk. Other people are helping me do them, and these are like online Zoom workshops, and they are just like, I like look forward to them. They're so much fun, and they're on all different topics, and it's survivor led, so it's just really cool and rewarding.
I love that.
Yeah.
Do you have a morning routine?
No, but I need one. I do. I mean, I'm like the worst. I'm really bad at OTing myself. I'm a very good OT for others. And I am, constantly in this more, what should I be doing? I mean, I do have somewhat of a morning routine because of COVID. It's actually been really nice. My husband brings me coffee. I have my coffee and I journal and pray and just try to like think about the day. And then it depends on if it's a kid day or a work day. So if it's a kid day, it's just sort of like going on a walk, numbers, letters, whatever. Well, I don't really do that. And then we play outside for like the whole day and eat and whatever. It's very fun and easy and relaxed. On my work days, it's like I hit the ground running. Like I have like an 8 o'clock conference call, and then I have clients until, so I had a client, and then I had a pre-interview for my podcast, No Brainer. And then I had which you guys should be on. And then I had like 2 clients, and then you guys, and then I'll have 2 clients after this. So it's like, bring them out.
I found that, I liked routine before, but for me, it was like so good for my brain to have a routine afterwards.
100%.
So before COVID happened, I was already knocking out a routine. And then it's been really important for me to keep it, especially in this time of like, just like randomness where we've got nothing going on. And so it's like the routine every morning for me is crucial.
What was it like going back into your routine? I mean, I would imagine like you had crazy hours and stuff being a journalist. Like, what was that like post-stroke?
I was actually working like weird hours, kind of like it was part-time in the beginning. So the routine in the morning was actually really important for me because it kind of got my day started. And I felt like it's really important for me to like feel settled and like mentally clear before I get the day started, because shit'll make it all foggy later. And if I go in with a foggy brain, it's not healthy for me. And I get so like, ADD. So if I start off like calm and collected, pray, meditate, journal, you should try journaling to God or whoever you're spiritual with. That's how I actually started journaling, was that I would be like, my girlfriend told me that she had a prayer journal, and I was like, oh, okay. And she said it's always been nice for her to like go back and get all the things she prayed for and see how God gave them to her, just not in her timeline. And I was like,
I love that.
Yeah, so that's how I started journaling every day. And I journal even when I'm like frustrated with him. Like if I could read you guys the post I had the day Vaca died, I was like, God, how dare you? I was just so upset. But I was like, I don't want to be angry with him, but I have to get this stuff out.
Right.
Just journaled it.
Yeah. The journaling prayers for me, I've started looking back at 2015 now that I'm in the 5-year stretch of divorce and living out here. I'll hit 5 years in October for living out here. And it's crazy. I hate praying out loud. That's where I struggle. If I were to grow my prayer muscle. But it's cool to see how much God has given me that I've asked for. So I got to be careful because I'm never specific. But like I journaled about how I wanted to feel alive, and my life coach is Feel Alive. That's her coaching business. 5 years in the future. And and I was looking through the characteristics of the man I wanted, and Dan is all of those things.
That's
it's
awesome.
Great, but I got to be careful. God's listening, apparently.
He is listening, and he knows what's up.
I know. I don't know what his plan was with the mental breakdown and Vaca going away, but he's got one.
I look at like my recovery. Like I prayed, I wanted to walk again. I wanted to move my arm, and they didn't happen in the time frame that I wanted, like the next day, but they happened with hard work.
It's really interesting because as a clinician, like I don't really bring up spirituality unless somebody brings it up to me, and then we can talk about it. Just because, so people feel safe. And I think a lot of my clients don't even know that I have any spirituality. But it's so interesting because the people that have some like deep core strength and understanding of the universe or a higher power that is with them, and that's in this struggle with them, they do so well. And the people who don't really struggle.
I feel like I have like nothing to lose, or that's how I felt when I knew God was walking with me. So I was like, I'm going to be fine. There's I don't have a job right now. And the other day I was kind of getting annoyed applying for them. I'm like, this is exhausting. And I'm like,
oh my gosh,
I'm going to be fine. And I truly feel like really like I'll find something. It's going to be fine. I'm not worried about it. But we were joking around with my girlfriend because I was like, oh my God, like I'll be fine. I'm not going to get COVID. God already gave me a stroke. I'm done. they were like, yeah, but your dog's dead. I'm like, that's true. Like, maybe I'm not that protected by him. I don't know. And there's a reason for everything.
There is.
Yeah.
I think about the brain and what actually happens when you pray to your mind. And teaching on the south side of Chicago, what I saw over and over again in these high school kids was those that had faith and belief in something did far better in living in the same situation. And I didn't have faith in. I would have told you science. And I've just been so inspired watching Kristen's journey and knowing when I went through with my ex-husband, the kidney and the chemo, I didn't have faith. I made a deal with God. I said, hey, I don't believe in you, but if you're up there and you make this study he was in, he did chemo so he could receive stem cells from someone. And I knew it wasn't going to work when we found out he was allergic to the anti-rejection medicine, but I made a deal with him and he didn't keep his bargain. But I found him a year later and I chose to get baptized as a symbol of not living my life without him again. And that happened in May for me of 2014. Wow. And in May of 2015, I was getting divorced.
Oh.
But it's very interesting to me how the mind can, for people to do better, believing that there's a purpose. That's really what I saw, was that there was a purpose for your struggle.
Yeah,
totally.
Wow. That's really powerful. Thank you for sharing that story. That's really, really cool.
Jane, what's developmentally trained mean? Do all OTs have to have that?
No, it's for OTs and PTs, and the OTs and PTs are the only ones who can get certified in it currently. But it's like it's a form of treatment. Like weight bearing comes from that, and like certain stretches for your hand and your arm. But the whole thing is like looking at the body mechanics and looking at one side of the body and the other side, and creating activities and movements that contribute to an efficient body pattern. So like when you are raising your arm, like a lot of people will raise their arm in this like flexor pattern like this, and it's not very efficient. This is efficient. So teaching people efficient movements through the joints.
That's CrossFit.
Yeah.
You're starting to speak my language. When we worked with people that were post PT, there was a great coach that did all of that. I didn't know any of it, but you're speaking.
Yeah. So so it's just, I took like, it usually takes people like 5 years, but I actually got to finish it in 2.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Well, it was like, so it's these little weekends that you go, and it was in San Jose and I'm in San Luis Obispo. So they're only like 4 hours away. And so it happened that I had Augie, my oldest, who's 4 now, and he was 4 months old, and I like went to the first training, and then I was like, oh, I want to do more of these. And so then when I was pregnant with George, I went to like 3 or something. And my last one, I was like so stressed. I was super pregnant and I had like a sty from being so stressed. And like I had to do the exam, and it was just like a gnarly experience. So I would go to these 6-day practice sessions where we would learn everything, and then a person post-stroke would come in, and then we would practice on that person with the instructor watching us. So it was like pretty stressful, but good. And then I had to write like a 70-page paper on it after taking the exam. And
hell no.
I know. And it was like right before I had George. I remember it was like during Christmas time, and I got it back. And apparently at the time I didn't know this, but everybody got it back like just drenched in red. Like that's how this person like teaches, but I didn't know that, so I was like devastated. I just remember being like so fat and so like pregnant and like tired and just like bawling, just like I never can be what I want. And then finally she's like, oh no, like you passed, I just wanted you to like see these things. I'm like, what? That was crazy.
Right? So extra, as the kids say. Are the kids still saying that?
I think the kids do say this. Okay, yeah.
Seems real extra.
No, but it was good. I mean, because the whole thing is that there's so many different ways that the body can move, and everybody's normal pattern is normal and specific to them. So yeah, so there, and just like really understanding, like there's a lot of physics in it, and there's a lot of it's interesting because I never thought like in OT I was always really drawn to more mental health. Like I used to work in a psych unit, and to really switch and be like, I'm going to be really physical disabilities, and really like in like knowing every muscle and getting into that was like so far from my brain. Like I was an English major for undergrad. So it was like this big switch for me, and then I just loved it because there's so much creativity that you can, and like art that can come out of just moving with somebody. So anyway, long story long, that's what it is.
So also, before we wrap up, I wanted to talk to you about your branding. Who came up with Heal the Brain with Jane? I love it.
So I did, but I still like struggle with that because I feel like it's kind of
Why?
narcissistic, like, and I want it to be more about what I'm doing. And like, so sometimes, and like, even when I will be like talking to like my web PT or whatever, that's the same name as my practice. They're under the same like banner. And it's like enhanced physical therapy, is like, it's like power physical therapy, and then there's like heal the brain with Jane, and it's like, I don't know.
I love it.
Well, yeah, thank you. I do love it. I'm getting more used to it. I
Yeah,
just wanted to feel like more of a community and not like
Yeah.
Jane focused.
I
Although,
no, I think you're definitely a community, your page.
Yeah, I love this idea of healing it with you. Like you're doing it alongside each other, not
yes.
right.
Oh, good. That's really what I was thinking. And then to heal too, I think is a tricky word because it's never like an end point, but
Sure.
heal, when you like look it up, like the Merriam's definition, it's the one of the definitions is to be whole. And so I love that because I think, you can be whole at any stage of your healing. Your body might not feel how you want it to feel, but you can still be whole.
Right.
And that really, like, I take that so to heart, and that's so much a part of my mission, is that like wherever you are, like you are whole and perfect how you are. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Perfectly imperfect, like
That
the rest of us.
Yes, I love that. That is the coaching model that I have as well. When I talk to people
Oh,
about
nice.
therapy and coaching, is not that your therapist says, girl, there's things wrong with you, but like my therapist knows there's some things that I can work on. Where coaching is really your whole, where you are perfect just as you are. Where do you want to go? What's your future
Yeah.
like? I love that philosophy. Thank you so much for taking time out of your
You're the best, Jane. I'm
schedule.
so glad we finally got to meet in
I
face to face.
know. Honestly, this has been so much fun, and you guys made me feel so comfortable, and I'm really, really, really excited. I'm so honored to be on this. I can't even tell you.
Oh,
Like,
you're the best.
Yeah.
I felt like I knew you already just because of social media.
oh my gosh, well, I feel that way with you too, which is like really fun. Like, I think I feel like I'm a kind of creepy with you because I'm always like, hey, like, saw this, it looked cool. Like,
No, I love that.
big
Every time, yeah,
fan.
no, I like all your stuff. I share it. I love it because I think anybody that's following me that's looking for stroke hope, I like try to send them to you and Joe's page because I'm like, those
Mm.
are the people that I looked for and that helped me like get off my ass and really bust it.
Oh my gosh, that makes me emotional. I'm so
Oh,
emotional today. I cried during my workshop too.
Oh
Somebody
my
said something
God.
and it was so powerful, and I was just like, oh my gosh, you're amazing.
I love
you're
that.
the best.
Wait, we ask everyone that comes on this question. I can't wait to hear what you're going to say. What would you claim is your superpower?
Ooh. Um, I think maybe empathy, because I think that's really always been something that I've tried to cultivate in myself, and um, really understanding that I can be empathetic and it can be not my journey, but I can really be there with people in my capacity. So not taking away from other people's journey, and allowing them to have it, but also feeling deeply for what they're going through.
Absolutely.
I
It's so
love that.
beautiful how you wear your superpower as well. It's you can see how empathetic you are. just
Oh,
in your eyes. You're so great. Thank you so much. Kristen,
thank you, you
I can't wait
guys.
to hear the answer to your
Oh,
question.
yeah. I also have one last question
Oh,
too, which
okay.
is what advice would you give younger Jane?
The first thing that came to mind is own it.
Love it.
Just own it and don't be afraid to be bigger than to be big. You don't have to be small.
I love that. Kristen, I don't know if you ever got the CrossFit t-shirt. I will see if I still have one, Jane. I'll send it to you. My
Yes.
CrossFit gym was Q-Town CrossFit, and the way it was stacked spelled own it. And that
I
was
love
I
that.
got that.
was like, show up and own it. Like, it's on
love
you.
that. I love that. You guys, thank you so much. I can't even.
Thank you,
This is
Jane. You're the
so
best.
cool.
This was so
You're
much fun.
Yeah, before we
Yes,
go
I
today,
want to like give you a hug.
I know. Well, I'll actually be in California in September in I forget where, but I'll let you know where.
Let me know. Yes, I'd love to be your best friend.
Yes.
I love that. I'm going to be there in July, but not in the San Fran area. But someday we'll meet up.
Someday.
Where
Love it.
can people find you and follow you and absorb all your goodness?
So www.healingthebrainwithjane.com. And then on Instagram, it's at heal.the.brain.with.Jane. And on Facebook, it's Heal the Brain with Jane. And then I'm on Pinterest, and I'm randomly really like famous on there. Not really, like I don't talk to anyone, but like I have a lot of followers. I don't get it. And that's C Jane Pinning. And then
cute. I love that.
isn't that cute?
Yeah.
And then I do have a YouTube. I always forget about it. I think just my dad follows, but it's Heal the Brain with Jane.
I love that.
I put a lot
I
of
think only Tom follows my YouTube, so it's fine. At least your dad's a fan.
I think I'm gonna hire my 12-year-old niece to do my videos because she told me, she's like, they're really bad, Aunt Jane.
Oh.
Really bad. And I was like, all right, cool. Like, you are hired. How much do you cost? So,
It's called child labor. She's going to be real cheap.
yeah, seriously.
Thank you so much. And our shout out
You're the
today
best.
for our nonprofit. Tell us about your nonprofit. Is that the Heal with Jane?
Yeah, Heal the Brain with Jane is a nonprofit. So we do workshops, and also I have a podcast called No Brainer, where I have stroke survivors and brain injury survivors and PTs, OTs, doctors, speech therapists, people who are really trying to break the mold of like the traditional medical model that we have right now, and really serve just everyone, serve our community. So,
I would love to give you the emails of my PT and my OT. They when I was an inpatient, because I used to spin a lot, do spin class, and they like set up a mock spin class. It was one of the sweetest things anybody, because they just wanted me to get back to like Kristen, so they did everything, including that mock spin class.
Oh my
that
God. Yeah,
was
I would
just
love
so
that.
special to me. I loved it. Yeah, I'll give you their information, and whenever you want me to come on, I'm there. I can talk forever about stroke.
Done. I know, right? It's like
Yes.
such a life-changing experience. And I think life-changing too, because it just reminds you how human we are, how finite this experience is, and how much more we have to give, like it's
and
really
what's important in life. That's what I think I really took away from my experience is, okay, this was crazy for me. So now what do I want? Not the second half of my life, but I'm still here. So how do I want the rest of my life to look? Well, I don't want it to just be work anymore.
Totally. 100%. I love it.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jane.
All right, you guys. Thank you. Bye.